Welcome to the Hyperpolyglot Activist, Learn Languages, Make a Difference. My name is Dr. Carlos Yebra Lopez, and today I'm here to talk to you about a question I've been asked many times. How do you juggle so many languages? How do you keep up to 10 languages? Now, many people think that as polyglots, we have to practice almost every language that we know every single day. The reality, however, is much more prosaic. Stay tuned. So how do I keep 10 languages active? Do I practice them every single day? No. Instead, I follow my own approach, which I call NLA. Now, NLA stands for Null, Latency, and Activation. Let me break these categories down for you. Now, first one is null or nothing. Those are the languages that I have mastered to a point where I don't need to practice them on a consistent basis. So which languages fall under this category, you might be asking yourself? Well, typically these are going to be your first language, languages that you have been studying for decades, or languages with which you are very much in contact every day as part of your job routine or as part of your social interaction. So you don't need to set time aside to practice those languages. They come naturally to you. Second, we have latent languages, languages that are, so to speak, dormant. These are no longer non-existent in your language routine, but they're not active either. These are going to be languages that you practice 1 to 2 hours per week, just to keep them fresh, just not to lose your fluency in those languages. You're not making real progress. Rather, you're just trying to maintain the level that you once acquired in that language. So you are practicing them casually. You don't really set up a strict routine. You merely practice it in context. Maybe you have conversation in that language, or you read a piece of news on that language, or you write a couple paragraphs. These languages are latent. And finally, you have active languages, languages that you're practicing aggressively with a purpose in mind. This can go from as low as 3 to 4 hours per week to as much as 2 or 3 hours per day. These are going to be 1, 2, 3 at maximum. There cannot be more than 3 realistically, particularly if your job is not in the language industry. Of course, these categories are not rigid. Rather, they're very much fluid. You're going to have to rotate between the null, the latent, and the active languages, depending on whether you have a presentation in that language or a job interview in that other language, or you're just more interested at that time of the year in learning that language, etc., etc. So let me give you a specific example on the way in which I currently categorize my languages. So as you can see here on the screen, as of December 2020, my language distribution is as follows. I have in the null category Spanish, English, French, Portuguese, and Judeo-Spanish. Those are the languages that I'm most familiar with, those that I have internalized to such a degree that I no longer need to set time aside to explicitly practice them actively, consciously, on a consistent basis. Then I have in the latent category Catalan, Serbian, German, and Italian. Those are the languages that I'll be practicing casually over the week. Maybe I'll watch a TV program for 30 minutes in Catalan on a Monday night, or maybe I'll listen to a commercial in Serbian or have a conversation in that language through an online meetup, for instance, or I'll read a piece of news on the Deutsche Welle, or I'll listen to a song from Tiziano Ferro or any other song in Italian. And finally, I have Mandarin in the active category, etc. Having classes on Italki, on the Cultural Association, a lesson. So that allows me to juggle all these 10 languages, even when I'm just setting time aside to practice half of them. In this case, Catalan, Serbian, German, and Italian in the latent category, and Mandarin in the active one. Now, obviously, this will fluctuate, this will change over the months. And so, for instance, once I have taken my HHK3 exam in Mandarin, which is a pre-intermediate level, I may drop Mandarin from the active to the latent category and then activate, say, for instance, the Catalan category. If I'm conducting research on Catalonia in the Catalan language, I will need to activate that and relegate Mandarin to the latent category. I could also maintain Mandarin in the active category and add Catalan, but that will mean between 4 and 5 hours being devoted to both languages per day. So that might be too much for me. Again, the key here is to pace yourself in order to maintain this rotation of languages and have it in such a way that it works to your advantage in the long term. And if you've made it this far, congratulations. I have a pro tip for you in terms of facilitating that juggling of the languages. It's called laddering. Now, laddering means using a language that you're learning as the basis on which to learn yet another language. So for instance, I'm actively practicing Mandarin, right? Instead of translating everything from Mandarin to my first language, Spanish, or to a language of which I have enough mastery, such as English, French, Portuguese, or Judeo-Spanish, I pick one of the languages that I am practicing casually, such as German. So when I write Shui, which is water, in Mandarin, I don't translate it into water, but instead I write, for instance, Wasser, right? So now I'm using German as the source language to learn my target language, Chinese. And that allows me to practice both at the same time. So I kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. So I hope you find this useful. Please share your thoughts on NLA and laddering in the comments down below. If you have a different technique or an approach that you think works better for the purpose of juggling languages, please feel free to share it as well. And as always, thanks for watching.